Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Mheshimiwa. Good morning. Honorable Mbadi, you have this impeachment motion which you have taken in Parliament. You want to impeach the President. And I've seen the newspapers, you have got 5 grounds which make you want to remove the President. And some of you are saying, oh, when you impeach the President, please, you are people join us because he will benefit. Your man will be the President. Can you explain to us why?
First of all, Muteki, let me take the earliest opportunity to sympathize with those families who lost their loved ones in Mecca. Even though we still don't know the number, but it's a very sad...
the one from MP does not even know the way.
Yeah, we have about at least 8 families grieving already, and it's very unfortunate, although it happened outside our borders, but we empathize and we hope that in future the same will not happen. These are people who went for spiritual nourishment, and they should have come back in whole. Having said that, yes, we have an impeachment motion coming. Certainly it will not be coming today, and probably the motion may not even be on the order paper this week. But we expect it to come up probably by next week. Where is the status of the motion? The motion as we speak is with the Legal Department of Parliament. I drafted the motion and forwarded it to the clerk, who has since forwarded it to the Legal Department for drafting. Because, you know, an impeachment motion must clearly spell out the grounds for impeachment. So the motion is active. I'm sure it will come up next week. Now, regarding your question,
the grounds that you are they in tune with the Constitution?
First of all, very much in tune. Article 94 of the Constitution mandates Parliament to protect the Constitution and uphold the rule of law, and also to promote good governance. The same Constitution, Article 95, requires Parliament to resolve issues that are of concern to the nation. And of course, you know that Article 131 of the Constitution places a mandate on the President himself to respect the Constitution. When you look at Article 10 of the Constitution, it talks about values, national values and principles, and one of them is observance of rule of law, and that is mandatory to all state officers and state organs, and the President is not an exception. And I've just mentioned Article 131 requires the President to respect, uphold and safeguard the provisions of the Constitution. If you go to Article 145, where the impeachment is provided for, it clearly spells out that the President can be impeached on several grounds, and the first one being if there is gross violation of a provision of the Constitution. It's a provision. It can be one provision of the Constitution. So if the President violates a provision of the Constitution, the President impeachment proceedings can be initiated against the President. And I mentioned Article 95. Article 95.5 talks to the role of the National Assembly. The National Assembly is required by law to review the conduct in office of the President, the Deputy President and other state officers, and initiate a process of removing them. Therefore, it is an obligation, a constitutional obligation on the part of Parliament to continuously review the conduct in office of the President, Deputy President and other state officers or state organs. I want to take you back to Article 2 of the Constitution that gives the Constitution the supremacy in law. Now, going straight to the grounds for impeachment of the President. Number one, we have stated that the President has I have stated in my motion that the President has violated the Constitution under the rule of law by first disobeying court order blatantly, thereby giving setting wrong example and almost pushing this country to state of anarchy. If you look at Article 160 of the Constitution that gives the judicial authority, it's clear that judicial authority shall be exercised by judiciary in accordance only on and subjected only to the Constitution and the law. And it goes ahead to say that no authority or person shall control or order the judiciary to behave in any particular manner. Now, by the president purporting to trash court order is a gross violation of the Constitution, that if allowed to proceed, then you are sliding this country back to imperial presidency. The court order that, as first, there are two court orders that have clearly spelled out that the president has blatantly violated. Number one was the court order that asked the Teacher Service Commission to pay teachers, by president coming out publicly to condemn and trash that court order is a gross violation of the Constitution and interference with the judicial arm of the government. Number two, the president, even after the courts had ordered that the 10,000 police recruits that should be stopped and that the exercise should begin afresh, the president, after the Garissa massacre, for some reason, deliberately ordered those recruits to report to come. Were it not for the noise of Kenyans, then that order would have probably been implemented. And actually, so many Kenyans came from all over the country, the 10,000 recruits, to report for training. That is clear. That's a president that does not respect the law. And that is a president that does not fit to hold office. So I have talked about the violation of the Constitution.
Yes, let's deal with this too fast. Let's get a reaction from Honorable Mbadi and Linturi, whether he agrees with you about that, those grounds.
Yeah, thank you, Mutagi. And first, let me also send my condolences to the families that lost their loved ones in Mecca. Without wasting much time, one, I think I would want to say very clearly before this national television that whatever Mheshimiwa Mbadi is proposing, and I would want anybody that cares to listen to look at the substance of the matters that is bringing up for debate and not look at him as coming from court or as being whoever he is. One, we must recognize that he has a very wide mandate as a member of parliament, and as he has clearly stated that Article 95 of the Constitution gives him that power to initiate the process of removing a president or any other state officer from office. So whatever proposal that Mbadi is bringing before the House is within his mandate as a member of parliament. That's a fact. That is not in dispute. My major issue right now is that I'm being forced to respond on a matter that I'm not very well assisted of, because I would have wanted to really discuss on the merits of that particular motion if I had an opportunity to interrogate the charges drawn against the president. But nevertheless, I would want to say that yes, the president can be removed from office by only two ways. One is by use of application of Article 144 and 145. Application of 144 is where the president is unable to perform his duties by way of incapacity, either physically or mentally. So that law does not, or that article does not apply in this case. The applicable clause is Article 145, where it's by impeachment. And one thing that I want to tell Mbadi, he may have the best ideas, he may have any very reasons. But when you look at the procedure of removing a president from office, it's not a walk in the park. Here, first of all, you must at least have a hand of the members of parliament supporting your idea. Then you must take it to Bunge. Bunge must 117 members of parliament must agree with you to discuss the matter. If the matter is discussed and find that you may have serious grounds, then that matter is discussed and you require 2 that 3 members, I think, to pass it. When the matter is passed, then the Speaker has to make a communication to the Senate. The Senate may call, the Speaker of the Senate shall call the Senate to discuss on that matter. When the Senate is called, the Senate may, it's not mandatory, discuss on that matter what the whole team, or may appoint an 11-member committee. So when the 11-member committee is also appointed, then they will look at those grounds and see whether they are substantiated. The President may also be called upon to defend himself before that Senate committee. And then the Senate committee makes a recommendation to the Senate. And then, at that particular time, when it's before the Senate, you require 2/3, or at least 45 members of Senate to pass this particular motion. And if it is passed, then the President leaves office. Now, my problems that I foresee, and what I'm saying is not a walk in the park, is that in the National Assembly, I don't think that Mbadi may have the necessary numbers to push for this debate. In the National Assembly, looking at the manner in which people vote in the National Assembly, let's not forget the business of tyranny of numbers. I don't think with the Jubilee, with 217 members of Parliament, there is anybody that would wake up to call or to support a motion to impeach the President. He may have valid reasons, right? But I don't think, because politics here, the politics that play around, right, will require a serious vote, then I don't think there is that likelihood of success. But since he has mentioned 2, and I've not had an opportunity to look at the motion itself, I've heard him saying that the 2 reasons that is bringing this motion before the House is that the President has been disobeying court orders, and he has almost assumed the authority of the judiciary, because he has cited Article 160 of the Constitution. I think he may have been referring to the case of the teachers. So in this particular case, I want to, my opinion is purely based on those particular issues he has raised. Yes, he says the President is disobeying court orders. It will be, legally speaking, very difficult for Mbadi to prove to us that the President has been disobeying court orders, because he will have to prove to us that yes, there is a case that was in court, and if this case was in court, then the President was a party, and if the President was a party, then an order of the court must have made an order directed to the President, and for that reason the President failed to obey the court order, so that probably you may be looking at instances of citing him for contempt. So, but in the absence of the President being in party and an order directed to him, then it may be very difficult. Yes, that is one instance. He said he cited the case of police officers. Police recruitment. The police recruitment. I think, if I'm not wrong, Article 239 of the Constitution gives the office, I think, the Inspector General, that is where the power of the Inspector General of Police and the National Police Service powers and mandate is inched on in the Constitution. Yes, the President may have made a pronouncement, but it is also the duty of any state officer to live and abide by the rule of law. Article, I think, 2 of the Constitution, no, 3, says that every Kenyan has a duty to uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution. So, the Inspector General of Police, when has serious power under Article 239, where it says that he shall not take any direction from anybody. Not even the President is allowed to direct the Inspector General of Police. So, if the President is a politician If the president talks politically anywhere, and you know the communication of the president by law is supposed, by the constitution, if the president has to make any communication, then he must do it in writing. So if a president on a national television or a press conference tells the people do MBCT without any written communication, then it will be very difficult, to really say that I'm the one that directed. It will also be very difficult for the Inspector General to run away from responsibility if in any case or in any event he acted on direction of the president that was made through a press conference or through an announcement by way of radio. So it will be an uphill task to really prove these points. And in that case, I will only say, I invite the motion, let the motion come, let's look at the merits, let us debate the motion objectively and clearly come up with a verdict. Because I would want to agree with the bandit that my only problem with the bandit is that he's setting a precedent, and the president has been set here and is going to go on a record, knowing that Parliament is a house of record. People will be referring to it in the future, that at one time the Parliament of the Republic of Kenya decided to debate the conduct of the president at that particular time, one Uhuru Kenyatta. The only problem I find is a serious indictment on his government. Whether the motion will not succeed, but you know, Cont will have an opportunity to hurl any insult, to say anything about the president, because they will be enjoying that parliamentary immunity. So in one way, Cont will be succeeding because they will be displaying, or they will be trying to discuss the president himself, and there are no limits, yeah, before the glare of all cameras. Worldwide. And this will be tearing him apart completely, and especially his government. So I take it very seriously, and in my view, if we were to really defend this matter properly, I would ask the members of Jubilee to do serious research and address the issues that come before the House properly, based on fact, based on law, and let's not mark the issues, let's not bring emotion, let us not bring party issues here and discuss this matter, but knowing that we also have a responsibility, as even when we discuss this, to really protect that institution of the presidency.
Yes. I just wanted to react shortly. First, I want to remind my friend Mbadi and Linturi that all members of Parliament swore, took an oath to really protect the Constitution. And by the way, Article 95 talks about us resolving issues that are of concern to the country. It's not issues that are of concern to the president. Actually, I want to ask Honorable Mbadi that as members of Parliament, we owe our allegiance to our voters and not really to the president and the presidency for that matter. So I don't really expect these party lines to take though it may happen given our experience. But as members of Parliament, I think we need to look at this motion, as it puts it, objectively and debate it soberly. I would need to add that I advise also those members of court who may bring extraneous factors or arguments to this motion by hurling insults or whichever side, not to do so, because then that would really make it murky, the debate very murky. Remember, this is historical, as he puts it. This is the first time that we are going to discuss, if the motion gets to the floor of the House, and I hope it will, that we are going to debate the conduct of the president in an impeachment motion. And it's going to set a precedent. This is a new constitution. This is a presidential system where the executive resides outside Parliament. And therefore, the people of Kenya decided to give themselves this privilege of their elected representatives debating soberly the conduct in office and reviewing the conduct in office of the president, deputy president, any other state officer for that matter. Now, regarding his argument about the president ordering the reporting to college of the police recruits, and that if Inspector General of Police acted based on his order, then that would have been illegal and unconstitutional. I agree with him entirely. But that does not take away the responsibility from the president. Remember, I mentioned Article 131, which says that the president shall respect, uphold, and safeguard the Constitution. No officer is insulated from protecting the Constitution. And the president did mention when he gave this order that he is ready to take personal responsibility. Now I am calling upon him to take personal responsibility by going home for issuing instructions that were unconstitutional. And by the way, that Article 145 of the Constitution on impeachment of the president talks about violation of a provision of the Constitution. It doesn't mention more than one provision. So long as you have violated the provision, a provision, whether it is one.
What do you say to the argument that he didn't write anything?
The point is that it is only that your order will be respected if you write, but that does not mean if you mention it doesn't become an order. The person who is using your order to mitigate his action is the one who is required by law to have the order by president in writing. But that does not protect the president from if the president speaks about. Actually, a lot of things that happen in this country is because the president has spoken. So by president coming to the television, national television, radio or wherever, to communicate to the republic and saying that I want this and this to be done. And by the way, I am not even sure whether, because I remember there was a release, press release from the office of the president that the police recruits should report for the training. But that's not the only ground. There are other grounds upon which we want to impeach the president. One of them being his purported appointment of a Deputy Inspector General of Police as to an ambassadorial position. The president has no capacity in law to declare and render an office, the office of the Deputy Inspector General of Police vacant, whichever way. By appointing an occupant of an office to another office, he is in a sense declaring that office vacant. What would stop the president tomorrow from appointing the Auditor General to an ambassadorial position and thereby declaring that office vacant, when we know, if the president is not happy with it, when we know very well that there are clear ways through which that office should be declared, remain declared vacant. Another point is the president has to take responsibility. I consider it gross misconduct on the part of the president when people lost their lives at Westgate. The president told the republic that a commission will be constituted to look into this matter and report to the people of Kenya. Up to now, we are still waiting for the president to form that commission.
That matter was sorted out by Parliament.
It can't be sorted out by Parliament. Parliament did its own independent investigation. Yes. We were promised by the executive as a country that an investigation will be conducted into this matter. That has not been done to date. The president recklessly talked about Mpeketoni after the death of Kenyans at Mpeketoni. The president recklessly came out to tell the whole world that that was political, and that that was not only political, and that it was ethnic cleansing of a particular ethnic community. That it was bringing division in the country. And one of the principles under Article 10 of the Constitution is for the head of state to bring unity in the country. The other failure by the president.
Of the Constitution?
No, I'm saying you see Article 145.
Yeah.
1 talks about violation of the Constitution. 2 talks about the national laws and international law. 3 talks about misconduct. So I am now speaking to misconduct. And the other, there are so many other areas that I would refer to, but the other one that I wanted to talk about is about corruption. The selective application of the step aside, this terminology that we have coined for ourselves, the step aside process in government. You ask other cabinet secretaries to step aside just because some individual have written a letter purporting that they are corrupt, yet a cabinet secretary comes before the whole country and tells us first that no money is lost in her ministry, and then two later, a few months later, from June to September, now we hear 791 million is lost. And then you don't ask that cabinet secretary to step aside. And by the way, the report that cabinet secretary relies on is a report that an investigation that is done by CID, whom we know very well have no capacity to audit accounts. We know the government accounts can only be either audited by Auditor General or an independent audit institution contracted to do the same. So you see a deliberate effort attempt.
That was not an audit, it was an investigation about theft.
That's why I'm saying, but when the theft, how then would you investigate the theft if it involves falsifying accounting records without involving professionals? We have not been informed whether the CID involved auditors in this investigation. So what we are saying, fine, I agree with the CID for what they did, but since they have told us something that could be going wrong, then why don't we ask the cabinet secretary and the PS to step aside?
But they are whistleblowers. They are the ones who say there is theft.
You know, this is also a rumor, a lie that has been spoken a number of times.
If the chief executive of this company discovers that have stolen something, then he tells the police to go and investigate me. Should he resign?
First of all, Mutegi,
it's not logical.
This is a lie that has been repeated many times, and it is becoming like truth. The true position is that this matter was reported to Anne Waiguru by Halaki, all right? That my password has been stolen, or so he puts it. And this was because the central bank had raised some issues. So to me, I see people who had already seen that what was happening in that ministry was going to be, that the truth was soon going to catch up with them. And then they came out now to preempt the process. Now, you see, we were told about the 800 million which was about to get lost, now 600 million, and now 800 million is actually lost in the process. Now, if you can admit, suppose that this gentleman did not report to the CS of the attempted theft of the 600 million plus, then would we have known of the 800 million? Your guess is as good as mine. And that is why we are saying that a lot has been happening in this. Remember, some of the farms that have been mentioned have close association with the CS. One of the farms is actually a very senior person in government, is associated. One of the consultants who has been talking a lot of rubbish, actually, to say the least, in social media, one of his relatives is owning one of the companies that has been mentioned to have stolen Kenyan money belonging to Kenyans. And these people were hired by the CS. So you look at the whole arrangement, it leaves no doubt that the CS needs to step aside and allow investigation. By the way, he is the one that is accountable in that ministry.
So why does the president come in? The impeachment of
the president comes in because the president comes in because the president is the hiring authority. If you have hired a watchman to guard the gate and something has happened, I don't go for that watchman, I come for you. If you don't want to sack the watchman, it is your duty to sack the watchman. We are telling the president, it is your responsibility. You owe it to the people of Kenya that you are CS. We are doubting the accountability and credibility of your CS. If you fail to remove her, then we come for you. Because the people of Kenya have a contract with the president, not the CS Anne Waiguru. It is President Uhuru Kenyatta who swore, he took an oath to protect the Constitution and to safeguard and protect our resources and wealth as a country.
So your action,
yeah, I've keenly listened.
You also wanted to impeach Waiguru at one time?
I've keenly listened to Mbadi, and don't take me back there. And you know, the very unfortunate thing is that Kenyans give us such a huge responsibility as members of parliament, and some of our members of parliament or the National Assembly may not be very familiar with its mandate. I've always been wondering, when you find a member of parliament saying I'm government, you still completely not understand what that particular person says. Because there are three arms of government. The constitutional architecture of this country is in such a way that power is shared from the vertically national government and the county government. And horizontally, we have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. We have distinct mandates. So, why Kenyans decided to do this is to get out of that system of an imperial president, so that at least the mandate of this institution is very clear. So, the power that was vested on Parliament is so immense. Parliament has been given the teeth to bite to manage the country in terms of legislation and in terms of trying to check those errant state officers who may want to perpetuate a continuous culture of impunity. Now, listening to what Mbadi is saying, Mbadi appears to have a prima facie case which can only be determined at the hearing. And the case that he has, the hearing stage, is if he is able to push his agenda to the floor. If the whole debate is not surrounded with the extraneous issues, then we can see those people come out to debate this matter objectively and looking at exactly what he is saying and the facts of any particular allegation that is making. And that's how we are supposed to do. Because, you know, why, as I'm saying, Kenyans wanted to run away from an imperial kind of president or system by bringing up this constitution. We must also not forget that it's very easy when you allow people make unfitting decisions without really looking at exactly what the law says, then you can easily create dictators without knowing. I think, to me, this is a wake-up call. A wake-up call to the president, a wake-up call to every state officer that will or that acts under the delegated power by the people of this republic to act according to what the law provides for. And in this particular case, personally, I can easily say that our Jubilee side right now, we should really come together, because this is a serious matter that is coming before the House. In fact, this is a meeting that I would even want to ask the Lindo majority to go for a Kamukunji to discuss and really organize our defense, because we want our defense based on issues, based on facts, based on legal issues, so that now when we get there, we do not just shout or say anything, because by allowing that to happen, we know we'll also be demeaning that house, because we have also a crisis in terms of our behavior, in terms of how we conduct ourselves. We want to conduct ourselves with a lot of maturity in this matter and look at the issues as they are brought and be able to tell the country this is what we feel like. The other thing, what I want to say on that particular, to almost conclude on this particular issue, is that the current constitution has given the serious wide freedom on democratic space that has been given. And even as Mbadi says, I also want to make people understand that Article 143 of the Constitution of Kenya is so clear that when the president acts or commits a crime, either punishable through the penal code or by application of that law, or a civil wrong against anybody, it must be known that very clearly the president is not, or the current constitution never contemplated a situation whereby the president is above the law. And this must be said, this must be known, that when you look at those provisions, that the president is only immune at that particular period when he is serving as president. But he is also not immune to any crime that he may be charged under any international law. That is Article 143(4). So Article 143(1) and 2 says that no criminal proceedings shall be instituted against the president when he is seated in office. 2 says no civil proceedings when he is seated in office. When you look at the wording and how it's framed, it means after leaving office, then you can follow him up. And that's why Article 143(3) talks about, we have a law on the Limitations of Actions Act, says that for any action that will be limited by that law, then the counting of days in terms of when the lapse period, the time is supposed to lapse, will only apply after exit of office. So that should tell you that we have a responsibility as state officers to live and abide by the rule of law, to protect the Constitution and defend it.
Let me read what the viewers are saying. Honorable Linturi, you are saying that you need a written order from the president. Somebody asks you, some Dixon Kina, if the president calls you to State House and gives you orders, will you obey or you just live there?
Like the Changao.
Yeah.
The illicit brew.
Yeah. Then the other one says, what Mbadi should tell us is when you want to impeach the president, then who are you going to bring in as the president? That your group is not useful language here, that you have nothing to offer in this country. You need to impeach Raila for lying that he can pay bills for teachers. Listening to Mbadi is laughable. ODM is ideologically coming down like a house of cards. Mr. Mbadi, I thought education crisis currently in the country is the one who should take priority. Why is ODM not coming in Parliament as a matter of urgency to discuss the teachers' problem? I think ODM is out of ideas, according to Shadrach from Kajendo.
Let me make a comment on this before Mbadi says. Yes. When you look at the kind of statements that are coming in, it tells you the level of colonization of our people in this country in terms of ideas. When somebody is sitting there and it's like you are not expected to be objective. You are not expected to act in a statement that you really believe in. So to me it's really absurd, and we must take this country forward by liberating our Kenyans, by telling people in Nyanza, Raila is not everything. Raila is not Kenya, right? So it is not that when Raila says MPs Mbadi, you must always follow. The same must apply in central Kenya, where I come from, and the president. That whenever the president has made a mistake, or is saying something that you don't agree with him, you don't have to go by what he says. You say now this is wrong, and we must let Kenyans now continue engaging each other without bringing issues of tribe parties in this matter. Because honestly, whatever Mbadi is proposing to me, I have abstained as a member of parliament, is within what he's supposed to be doing as a member of parliament. That's why he's being paid.
Mutegi, listening to some of the viewers who are sending their messages to us as leaders, it confirms to me one thing, that Kenyans have very short memory. Going back to imperial presidents is not very difficult. If we have people like Shadrach still having their mind set the way it is set. Remember, even those period, and the problem with Kenyans, we don't read. It is not a must that you must have been here in this country as mature adults to know that Kenya has come from very far. There were times we had a very progressive constitution in this country, but the progressive constitution was watered down and made a constitution that was subordinated by the presidency just by mere actions from the executive, actions that started in a small way but later on matured into total authoritarian and dictatorship. When some Kenyans stood up, and I have in mind people like Kenneth Matiba, people like Raila Odinga, people like Muite, etc., even Jaramogi and others, when they stood up, actually so many Kenyans, I think, laughed at them and said, would you manage Nyayo? I mean, you're wasting your time. And I'm telling those who are in that mindset, that those of you who think ODM has run out of ideas, yet we are seeing ourselves sliding back to autocratic leadership through imperial presidency, and we are saying no to it, that I have no issues with you, but I have to discharge my duty
what do you say
as a legislator.
About the numbers? The numbers in Parliament, that you might not get the numbers to support your impeachment.
You know, when I bring a motion to Parliament, it is for members of Parliament to exercise themselves objectively to that motion. I refuse to be persuaded that that members are just going to vote because they are from CORD or Jubilee. I expect members to exercise their brains to this motion and objectively determine, and with facts. And by the way, I would urge Mbadi and Linturi to talk to his colleagues the way he has spoken, that it is really embarrassing to this country to see like what we saw in Committee of Finance, where CS Anwaiguru appeared, and members of Parliament just made it impossible for her to be held accountable. Now we have egg on our face because it has turned out that some money was lost in this ministry. Parliament had an opportunity to interrogate those matters. We failed miserably because of cheap politics of the day. I want to conclude as I finish, because one of the Kenyans who sent message challenged CORD and particularly ODM that the current issue is with the teachers' strike. That is true. The biggest problem we have in this country is our children are at home. We have spoken to it as a coalition, but I want to say that it's not that we are doing nothing. Yesterday, I took an amendment bill to Parliament to amend the Appropriation Act of 2015, where I'm reallocating 32.3 billion to be exact. From one, I'm taking 2 billion from the Treasury, money that was supposed to adjust the salary of people who work in the Treasury, but that has not happened, and I don't see it happening up to December. So I've taken away 50% of that. I've taken away 4 billion from NYS. I've taken away about 11 billion from our recurrent expenditure. That's about 2% across the board, and we are taking that to pay our teachers so that we resolve this problem. So it's not that CORD is not offering solutions. We are offering solutions, and by the way, as I conclude, it is not the duty of the opposition to offer solutions. We are only coming in as concerned Kenyans. It is the duty of the government to run the country.
Thank you very much, Washimwa. We have run out of time, and from here we are going to outside where we have some music.